Hello and welcome. My name is Marc Blatstein, the physician founder, Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. This YouTube is going to review a more simple and straightforward way to understand the First Step Act and how to implement it to get early release. It's about as straightforward as I can be. It's a way you can earn time credits to get home sooner. So it's not as simple as that, but it is. Starting with the end goal, you can earn up to 365 days or a year off your sentence. Approximately, from a satellite view, it'll take about a year to earn 6 months, so 2 years to earn 1 year off your sentence. And so that's just a ballpark. There's been a lot of newsprint about you're earning, you can earn 10 credits a month, and after 2 successful assessments where you essentially haven't gotten in trouble, it jumps up an extra 5 credits to 15 credits a month. Now, the first assessment is done. The first assessment is done within 30 days of arrival, but the BOP, or the Federal Bureau of Prisons, is trying not to count that as your first assessment. And so that is another YouTube and a discussion. But right now, according to the law, or as it's written, and the Federal Bureau of Prisons, their own program statements, that first assessment has to be within 30 days. And so, with all that being said, I'm going to regress and go back a little bit, and we're going to talk about stakeholders. Stakeholders, these persons are in charge of essentially your future. I mean, it started with your judge. Before that, it was the prosecutor and the Department of Justice. Now it's going to be your case manager, so that when you go into prison, it's going to be your case manager that you're going to talk with, and you'll introduce, or they're going to call you to the office, and at some point, you're going to try, and when you speak with them, you want to offer to them that you'd like to take the survey. And there's a Spark 13 assessment survey, and you need to take that in order to be able to have your case manager recommend programs for you to take so you can get credit. That's part one. And part two is that if you have, as part of your court case, a financial penalty, or you owe money, restitution, or whatever that may be, the Department of Justice is really pushing on the Federal Bureau of Prisons. They have what's called a financial responsibility program. This is where you need to you need to sign a pact or sign a deal with your case manager, which is the financial responsibility program, so that if you're assuming that you're going to take into your commissary account, and a lot of these I've covered in other YouTubes, we can have a discussion. You can call me on the phone or email me. But if you think you're going to take in per month into your commissary account $1,000, more than $1,000, be prepared to, and you have a financial penalty in the hundreds of thousands or millions. Be prepared to offer $200 a month or more to your case manager. If you think you're going to have people, family, friends, if your commissary account is going to show deposits of several $100s a month, and you're not sure even about that amount of money, then talk to the case managers and say, can you deduct for the financial responsibility program $25 a month, $25 a quarter, $75 a quarter, whatever is least painful for you, and whatever you and your case manager can work out. But it has to be something, because if you refuse, then what's going to happen is that you may not be able to be entitled to take the First Step Back programs, or be allowed to take advantage of the early release options that would be available through either the First Step Act or through what's available through your case manager and unit team and the warden, which is the Second Chance Act, which they can on their own go out of proactively offer to you unbeknownst to you, and you can potentially subtly ask for it at some point, but it's nothing that's official. And so it's a really big deal, because the Department of Justice, if you've been staying up on the news, if they had their way, they would just go into these accounts and take 75% of everything that's in there. And we don't even know through what's been in the news media whether it would even go to restitution, which is why we recommend that no one use your commissary account as a bank. I've been made aware that there are people that have, tens of thousands of dollars in there. I don't know that I would recommend doing that at all. Second is the pre-sentence report, which the inmates call the inmate's Bible. So before you ever meet your case manager, and I know we're going to get into the First Step Act in detail, but before you ever meet the case manager, they're going to essentially profile you. And where they're going to get their information is from your pre-sentence report. And so if you haven't written a personal narrative, a reentry plan, anything like this before your pre-sentence interview that made it into your pre-sentence report, then all they're going to know about you is the story that was written by the Department of Justice in your indictment. And so this is another YouTube, but you definitely want to hopefully have a well-written narrative and reentry plan in your pre-sentence report, so that your case manager and unit team will have a little bit of background information on you before you all meet, because that reentry plan is going to become very important as you begin taking these First Step Back programs and work towards getting early release. Because in order to get early release, there's a limited number of halfway house beds. And the halfway house residential reentry managers depend on case managers recommending individuals for their limited number of beds. And so who are they going to recommend? Someone who has worked very diligently putting together a good reentry plan, or someone who has nothing? And so back to the parts of the narrative, or rather parts of the First Step Back. So there's a Spark 13, which has 13 different areas. There's also pattern, and the pattern, these are hard-coded parts of the risk assessment score. And these categories are things that you should know, as well as the Spark 13 survey questions. I can review both of them before the end of this video so that you can see them both online through my website. But the categories goes over your age, your criminal history, which you should know before you go into your pre-sentence interview. You've gone through that, your education. These are things that are hard-coded. And if you're going in for the first time, chances are your numbers are very low. Now to the nitty-gritty of the First Step Back. It's more than just taking the classes. If you want to be able to get the most amount of benefit out of these classes, the case managers, part of what they're tasked with doing is their job is to look for incremental improvements in those persons, of which you will have a case manager who is essentially guardian over you, who's responsible for watching you reduce your criminogenic needs, your criminals. I was convicted of a felony about 20 years ago. In 2010, I'm grateful that I was able to get back my medical license. I transitioned away from patient care because I was unprepared for everything. And I decided that my knowledge and skills in healthcare, and then what I've learned subsequent to going into the BOP, that I could go ahead and work with all of you as you begin to enter this, the American justice system. And so the only way that they're going to be able to judge that you take it, they're going to offer you a class. So let's say you're a very bright person, male, female, you were a banker, you are a politician, it doesn't matter what you did. Okay. Essentially, to everyone, once you're in the BOP, you're a criminal and you're a number. And so they're going to give you a program to take. It could be anything. It could be you are going to be taught how to balance your checkbook. Maybe they're going to tell you to take a program about how to walk around the track, or how to be healthy and walk around the track, or something like that. Either way, you're going to say thank you. You're not going to roll your eyes. But then as you go ahead and you take these classes, how are they going to be able to judge what you learn other than you just talking to them and say, yes, you took the class? Well, from what I've learned, and I know what I know, which is medicine. I didn't know this stuff, and they didn't even have the First Step Act when I was in prison. But is by getting yourself, writing down everything you do while you're in prison. And in this particular case, every time you take a class, you should come out of the class and write down the day, date, time, the topic of the class, the teacher's name, and what you learned, the takeaway. And you need to do this every day. And it's building a habit. You can get from Amazon softback books that are journaling type notebooks. There's a caveat here that there has to be something written on every page other than just the lines. It can be inspirational quotes on history, autobiography, religious, astrology. It doesn't matter, as long as there's something there. And you're going to write down something every day you take this class in this notebook. Because, and I'm going to go into it, but you're going to keep a running record for yourself. And so it's going to consider this because you're going to want to know why you need to keep all these records. And for most of you, you don't even, want to write and keep a record of everything. And I'm going to tell you have to. Consider it like insurance. We all you drive a car, you have car insurance. You have health insurance. So not everyone wants to buy it. If you're smart, you have health insurance. You have a home, you have homeowners insurance. You hope you don't need it, but you're grateful when you do. Okay. So this is building a new habit. And so why is this important? Well, what happens today it is April 29th, 2023. So let's say in August of 2023, you have your meeting with your case manager. And the case manager looks at you and says that we have no record of the class you were supposed to take on April 29th. Remember, this is now in August. You didn't go to that class. What are you going to do? It's months later. A lot's happened since, being in prison. Who knows what you're doing? What are you going to do? You can't argue with them. You have no record of what you did. And you assumed that they have their record and their record is correct. Well, don't assume. And so what you're able to do now is, as you have these meetings, you're making all of these records for every class in this notebook. You're able to copy these pages, and they'll be in chronological order. So it's not like you're making it up as you go, and it's all going to be the same writing. It's your handwriting. And so you can show the case manager, I'm sorry, but as you see, it's all my handwriting and it's chronological order. I was at each and every class. And if it was one class you missed, it's not like, you were sick and you were in the infirmary or wherever you were, but it's not like you missed it. And so this is your insurance. And so what I want you to understand, and I will show this at the end of the YouTube, is that there's an article that I have. It's on the website. I'll show it at the end. But an individual took this to court where he had a lot of issues when he went to court, but one of them was he felt entitled to 365 days of earned time credits. And the Federal Bureau of Prisons said to the court, they only had him for 75 days. Well, he couldn't prove anything. And they had their records. And so don't let this be you. So you want to write down everything as day, date, time, topic. And at the end of the class, if it's a 2-week class or a 3-month class or a 6-month class, write down your takeaways of each session of things that maybe you could learn or use, at some point in your life or on the outside or with your kids or whenever. And then at the end of the class, put down a thank you for your case manager for suggesting that you took the class, that you learned something. Then I'm going to add on something else. There's lots of time you're going to have lots of time in prison. No one, again, I was unprepared. I was unprepared even when I went into prison. But don't spend all your time watching TV. Going to prison is a finite period of time. And so try and spend it wisely. If you're not a reader, well, try and build this particular habit of reading. But books that are nonfiction. And for however number of months you're going to be going to prison, try and pick out topics of books that you may want to read. It can be any one of a range of different topics, biographies of famous people, history, art history, science, painting, life skills, famous women in history, geology. It really doesn't matter. It just needs to be things where you can learn something. And, you can get lists from where I have a big list online at my website. You can go look to New York Times, Forbes, but buy the books from Amazon and spread the list out through family and friends. Maybe 2 books come in every 3 weeks. And then every day read, and date and then the author and the book and read as much as you like. And if there's something that you could pull out from that chapter of something of interest, and some chapters will have more than others, but just write down everything that you're doing, because this is going to begin to be part of your reentry plan. And this reentry plan that you've started before your pre-sentence interview begins to have depth. And who knows? I mean, you actually may be able to pull out a career. When I was in the BOP and they didn't have this, I just wasn't motivated to do this. I had several thoughts on my mind. One was getting back my license. The other, I was just a basket case the whole time. I appealed part of the indictment, and that was not the smartest thing to do. And so I'm grateful enough, as I said earlier, that I was able to get the license back. But don't take all your time watching TV and sports. You're going to get out of prison. And so you need to begin to prepare that reentry plan, because you want to do something. If you've always been self-employed, well, depending what you used to do, if what you used to do had nothing to do with your case that got you in trouble, then you probably can go back to that. But you want to, hopefully you have character letters from before your pre-sentence interview from those in your business community that will at least give you that first start. And so, I think that, if you're not, even if you're not a reader, but you're interested in the arts or painting or drawing, you can also bring in books like that and begin to start. And who knows where it will take you. If you're already, an educated male or female, person, and you have had a big business and great experience, well, then I probably don't have to go through the reading list with you, because you're going to prepare that and have the books already sent to you. You'll be prepared already for taking notes through all of the First Step Back classes. But guess what? You have experience. Create a class. I'm sure after you speaking with, some of the individuals in there, you'll be able to come up with a curriculum that you think will be of interest to those, that are there with you that don't have your experience. Make it so that people can meet several times a week for several months, run it by your case manager. If they say okay, guess what? They'll take the credit, and that's okay. That's actually even better. And it'll help you look better, and it'll give you something to do also, and it'll help those around you. Every conversation you had, and again, this goes back to building your reentry plan, because now this is all building in on the First Step Act, because the First Step Act is helping to reduce your criminogenic needs. And all of these steps go into building reducing your criminogenic need. They all dovetail into one another. Log every conversation you have with a BOP. Anytime you have a conversation with the staff of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and when you're done, no matter how innocuous it may be, write down the date, their name, the topic of the conversation, because it can be as innocent as anything, but you're not going to know, unfortunately, until, like taking the class, until months later, if somebody says, mention that conversation and there was something maybe you needed to do, you forgot. But if you needed something from that conversation and you forgot about it and it's not written down, you're out of luck. Next, you have your GED and you haven't been to college, but you want to go to college, get an education. Well, starting July 1, 2023, the Biden administration, with the Second Chance Act Pell Education Grant, they will have started providing grants through different colleges and universities. I have a list of participating colleges and universities that you can do online classes with. And so all of this again dovetails through the First Step Act, which is showing incremental improvements in you doing the work to help decrease, in the eyes of the system, which is your case managers, your criminogenic needs. Now, you may not think you have any criminogenic needs. Your family may not think it. I may not think you had any, but the system does, and the case managers, this is how they're wired. And so they need to see that improvement. Back to the financial responsibility program, it all goes, you can't refuse to participate, because if you do, then it all goes away. Now we're going to get to the reentry plan that I touch and go on all the time. So why is this important? Well, if you don't have a release plan or this reentry plan, which is what you're building, in other words, as you bring in all this information on separate pieces of paper that you've copied, every time you speak with your case manager, they're going to put it in a file, and that file builds your release plan. Now, towards the end on my website, you'll be able to find, and if I can remember to pull it up through, I forget the website from Minnesota, but it gets into more detail as to where you're going to live, how you're going to put together a budget, what kind of jobs are you going to look at? Do you have your driver's license? Do you have your social security card? It's going to touch on all of those basic needs. If you have a place to live, then, and someone to drive you around, et cetera, it's going to cover all those basic facts. But if you no release plan, so the question is going to be, Second Chance Act, your case managers can recommend you to get into a halfway house earlier. But if you don't have, and you're not building up this record of incremental improvements, which makes up this reentry plan, then why should they appear to care more about your future than you do? If you don't have this release plan or reentry plan, then how are they going to recommend you to a residential reentry manager? These residential reentry managers, they manage the halfway houses, or they also manage once you come into the halfway house, if they feel that you qualify, they will put you on home confinement, but you are also under their, they're also responsible for you, even though you're on home confinement. And so these residential reentry managers, they have a limited amount of bed space. And so if they're getting applications coming to them, and some of them are coming from prisons where the case managers have great reentry plans with them, and others are coming just with nothing but the bare bones packet, who do you think they're going to take? The residential reentry managers, these people also have supervisors to them, and they want to bring in people that they're comfortable, that they feel will make them look better, which means that they want to bring people in who they feel will successfully re-enter their own communities successfully. And so this is I hope that you find this helpful. Let me try and see if I can pull up some information that will help you see what I'm talking about. If I can do that, I may be able to, and I may not. Okay. Let's see. And go here and all right. So this comes right to this one. So this is on, actually, give me a minute. So this is on the second tab on my website. And if I come back down too far, all right. So down here, this is the legal case I'm talking about. And if I open it up, where we can see, maybe, bear with me, is okay. This is an example where you need to document your First Step Back credits. The petitioner earned, he thought 365 days of credit, and the BOP only said he earned 75 days of First Step Back credits. And so you can read it here. There were other issues here because he was a deportable alien, but at the end, I read through the whole thing. He still was not able to prove that he had 365 days of credits. Next, let's see what else I had here that I thought was worthwhile. Let me see something. Maybe, no, wrong way. Let's see. Legal case. Here is the list of schools from the Pell Grant. So you can go to the website still, that's that second page. Oops. It's not the, well, that's not good. I gotta fix that. I thought that was the schools. Participating colleges. Let's try that. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so this is, let's see. So here's just a list of all the colleges and universities, and you can go in there and contact them, and you can see if their grants are sufficient for you. Then let's see, what else do I have here that could be helpful? Books are at the bottom of this page. Let's see. All right, come over here. And come all the way down. And here I just come down to, all right. Okay. So here I have a list of books. We have, biographies by Mandela, Think and Grow Rich. It's an oldie but goodie. Power of Habit is a good one, especially if you think starting a habit is not going to be easy. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is an oldie. Three Laws of Performance is excellent. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is actually Stephen Covey, but one of the programs is part of the First Step Back program system. But also, I've also broke it down into business, life skills, and historical biographies. And so you can look to see what's semi-current. And when you open these up, there's like a list of them to review, just to kind of give yourselves a start, if you will, looking this stuff over. And here, let me see why I put this page in second. Let me see, maybe nothing. I think that is pretty much it. I hope you have found this helpful. There was one other thing I wanted to show you, but I'm not finding it right now. One more try and then I'm done. But I hope you found this helpful. All this information is available on the website. And please don't try and do all of this on your own. Find someone who is not an enabler, someone who's, has experience in sentencing mitigation. All this information here on the website is for free. I appreciate you taking the time to, out of your day, to listen to my YouTube. And should you choose to engage my services or anyone else's, again, there's a lot here. And I hope you stay safe. Have a good day.